Hi everyone, it's me here, and in today's video I'm going to be doing a Sonic the Hedgehog IDW review slash character analysis. Now for a while I actually wanted to make a video talking about one of the stories from the Sonic IDW Annual 2022. So in these IDW annuals, they would usually include 5 or 6 different short stories. And the one I'm going to be talking about comes from, again, the Annual 2022, and it's titled Future Growth. So I'm basically going to be reviewing this short story, talking about like the plot, and basically doing a character analysis because there's one certain character that I really want to talk about. So let's begin. Alright, so in this story, the Restoration or the Resistance is doing a harvest. They are harvesting vegetables from a garden, and this is the same garden that comes from the IDW Annual 2019 story, Victory Garden, where Silver and Blaze end up fixing up the garden, and I'm not actually sure when Future Growth takes place. I kind of like to think of it as a continuation from Victory Garden, but I know it's not, like, it doesn't happen directly after that story. Now, let me guys know when it takes place because I've kind of skipped in between some of the IDW comics, but I haven't like watched any of them in chronological order, and I just started like recently listening to these dubs. So just let me guys know when that story takes place. So anyways, they're harvesting vegetables from the garden, and Silver the Hedgehog does not look enthusiastic during the harvest, and Silver's just like this. Now yes, this is actually a story that revolves around Silver the Hedgehog, which I will talk about more later. But anyways, he's basically picking vegetables and stuff, and he's picking tomatoes off of a plant, and then Sonic comes by and tells him if he's almost done, and then Silver ends up squeezing the tomato in his fist, and it just splatters everywhere, and he's like this. Like, I can literally show you the panel right here. Like, the funny thing about the IDW comics is that the expressions they use for the characters are hilarious, especially with Silver's expressions. So anyways, Amy then comes by and then says how she's happy that Silver came by to do the harvest. And then Silver's like, yeah, that's why I'm here, even though that's clearly not the case because it looks like there's something wrong, and he looks depressed. And he just continues to like look like unenthusiastic and is just like this. And then Espio is the only one who takes notice of this, which we will get more into later. But then basically the Restoration is like fooling around or whatever because they're either doing the harvest or they're messing around or something like with the vegetables and stuff. And then Tangle ends up like fooling around and everything, and some of the other characters are too. And this gives Silver the opportunity to just like go off on his own, and he goes into this like forest like in the woods or something, and it's like he has a moment to himself, or so we thought, because next thing is that we hear like, hello Silver, like, and then Silver's like, huh? And Espio is there, and he's like, you are troubled, because he's clearly the only one who saw that, like, Silver looked like there was something was wrong. Like, it looked like there was something wrong. And Silver's like, trouble? No way, Espio. You know me. Always on a mission. Important, future person things to do. Like, he tries denying that anything's wrong, but it's clear that he's lying, because Espio then says, you're also bad at lying. And Silver's like, I know, like, he wasn't gonna get away with lying. He's like, he just couldn't deny it. And when I mentioned important future person things to do, that will mainly be what the story's about. So this is basically like a one-shot in between Silver and Espio, like the character interactions and everything. Like, that's what like the story is about and everything. So then Espio tells Silver, I don't want to pry, but if you're concealing some sort of danger, I would like to know about it. And then Silver's like, well, it's nothing like that. It's, well, I'm not here for the harvest. Actually, I have no idea why I'm here at all. So this basically talks about how, like, Silver has an existential crisis on how he doesn't know why he's even there and everything. And then Espio's like, do any of us know why we're here? And then Silver's like, I do. I mean, I usually do. And then he talks about how, like, he usually gets sent back to the past because he has to, like, fix his future and stuff. Because for those who don't know, Silver's from the future, 200 years into the future, and he was originally like introduced in Sonic the Hedgehog 2006, and like his whole entire character is basically having him to like go back to the past, like to fix his future, because his future looks like the apocalypse. It looks all destroyed and everything, and like he normally has to go back to the past and like fix everything so his future doesn't look destroyed. And the last time we actually saw him in a IDW story is where he goes back to the future, pun not intended, and sees that his future is restored. Now, I haven't really followed the IDW comics that much, but I do know that from one of the panels in one of the stories, he ends up going back to his future and sees that it's perfectly fine, which is where it basically kind of continues off from after we didn't see him in the IDW comics for 2 years, because that one story was released in 2020. The next time we saw him was in the annual 2022, so I just wanted to mention that there in case you guys weren't really sure what I was talking about. But he talks about how every time he gets sent back to the past, it's usually to save his future from turning into another wrecked world and all that. Now, I'm actually directly quoting this from the story because there isn't really another way for me to talk about this. But he talks about how he usually gets sent back to the past to fix his future and how it's his job and his purpose, and he always knows what he needs to do because it's history. But this time there's nothing for him to do, and he wasn't sent back to the past to fix his future, and he doesn't know why he's there. That's what it's all about and everything. And he's there's nothing, there's no crisis in my future, and things are okay here. Everything's fine, but I'm not. It literally just talks about his existential crisis and everything. And the next part is very relatable to me, where Silver goes into panic mode. He's freaking out, pacing back and forth, rambling, talking about how, if he did anything wrong, if he did something wrong or if he was missing something, he's did I do something wrong? Am I missing something? What if some disaster hits tomorrow? And that's actually very relatable to me because, I freak out a lot. I am overly anxious about quite a bit of things, even the little things, and that perfectly, describes Silver's character as anxious and everything. And how he's not sure why he's there, and he's freaking out and everything. And Silver is a relatable character to me, in that story specifically, which is what I wanted to talk about when I talked about character analysis. So Silver continues to freak out, and then when he says, what if some disaster hits tomorrow? And that's where Espio cuts him off. He stops him, and then Espio's Silver, take a breath. Literally tells him to calm down and take a deep breath. And then the next two panels are actually pretty funny. I'll show you them right here, where they end up breathing together and everything, and Espio's in slow and steady, and then Silver's expressions are so funny in those panels, because in the one panel where he inhales, he has the squinty anime face or something like this one, and then when he exhales he's this, he looks like he's suffering in that panel, he's struggling and everything. Don't we all need to take a moment to breathe? He clearly does. So after he calms down, Espio basically gives him his thoughts on the whole situation, and he says that how as a ninja his first priority is the success of his missions, but as a friend he cares for the safety of his team, and how danger could be waiting around every turn, and if he allows his fears to consume him, his enemies would have already won without having to do anything, which basically talks about how you have to keep at it and everything and all that, and push through it and all that. And then Silver's so how do you fight it? The fear, I mean. And how Espio talks about his technique is simply to have faith in himself and his friends and all that, and how he says, you may not know why you're here now, but that doesn't matter. You're where you need to be. Which is what people talk about, saying that Silver should stay in the past so that his future is good and everything, so it doesn't look destroyed, which I also kind of think too. We should allow that to be canon and stuff in the series. And then Espio tells him to go back to the garden and enjoy the fruits of his labor because he deserves it and all that. And then Silver's I'm still scared, but I'm not alone. You guys make me feel like I can do anything. And he's this. And then he's also, thanks, Espio, for real. And then Espio's because he hugs him, he's this, thanks for real. And then Espio's which is what a lot of people talk about, and everyone talks about that comic mainly because of the one-shot stuff. And then we hear Vector then say, hey Espio, where'd you go? We got a bee problem. And then Charmy's fooling around and stuff. And then Silver's need some help? And then Espio responds, please. And that's the end of the story. So it mainly talks about how Silver has struggles and has anxiety and everything, which is very relatable because I also had the same thing as him, and all that, and how he's not sure what he's supposed to do and all that. Like, I feel like this is a really good story because like it dives into like Silver's inner fears and everything, like his fears about like the future and all that, which I also have the same thing because I don't know what's gonna happen and everything. Like when he talks about like what if some disaster hits tomorrow and all that. And like my favorite part of this comic probably has to be that moment and the moment where he calms down because like it's just so funny and everything. And it's also relatable to me because when I ramble and I talk fast, which is something I do when I'm like overly anxious and panic and all that, people tell me to breathe and I have to like take a deep breath and everything and all that. But like, yeah, Silver's definitely like relatable to me in the story and all that. And I ended up like enjoying this. Like, I cannot tell you like how many dubs I've actually listened to, and I actually want to do a dub of this, but I don't know if I should because like I've practiced trying to like dub this over, but like I don't really think it sounds right. I mean, let me guys know if you want to hear a dub of this comic, like if you want me to do like a voiceover for it. So that basically wraps up me talking about future growth and how Silver the Hedgehog is a relatable character. So that concludes my video, and stay tuned for more videos. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you in another video.